All right, everybody. I'd like to welcome you out to the call tonight. Um, we have a very special guest, Dr. Keith Robbins, on the call, who will be going over our equivalent meal replacement, specifically tonight talking about the xanthones and the proteins that we do have in that product. Real quick, I'd just like to share a couple announcements, reminders. Tomorrow night in Manti, Utah, starting at 6:30, they will be having a meeting with Tony Steffen and David Hall. So if you're here in Utah, go ahead and let your team know that they can go down there and hear that great presentation that they've got prepared for everybody. Also, the Rocky Mountain Summit will be coming up here shortly. That will be May 16th and 17th, held in Salt Lake City at the Radisson Hotel. Tickets right now are on sale for $99.95, and those will be happening. And then once come at the door, ticket prices do go up. So make sure you purchase your tickets now and get those out to your team. Let's go ahead and get as many people as we can there. Right now we have quite a few people that will be attending, so we just want everybody to come out there and hear the great information that's going to be shared there on how to grow your business and share this wonderful product that we have. Also, a quick reminder, on Saturday, April 26th, the new QEC Center over in Orem, Utah, they will be having a spring barbecue, kind of a little kickoff. That will be starting at 12 o'clock with Mark Wilson, who will be giving a presentation. And then 3 o'clock, Roger Smith will be giving a training meeting. So make sure that you go ahead and spread the word on that. We will be sharing more information as that's coming up here. So with those brief announcements, Dr. Robbins, are you on the call?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can. I'm going to go ahead and turn that time over to you now. So if you can just take that time, and then when you're done, turn the call back over to me. I have a few questions for you.
Great. Thank you so much. I really am excited about being on this call. I really love nutrition. I really love to talk about nutrition, and every opportunity that I get, I try to take that because it is truly a passion of mine. Before I start, however, I do want to make a few disclaimers. The information that I will be sharing with you this evening, it's not intended to treat or cure any disease. It's strictly going to be for educational use, and I just think it's important that you note that from the beginning. And secondly, I'm just going to just state for the record that I'm personally neither a vegetarian nor a vegan. As a matter of fact, I get most of my protein from animal sources. However, I do believe that we all, or what we eat and the way we eat is purely a lifestyle change. And so I'm not here to claim that one way is better than the other. But my intention this evening is to give you some information that will actually assist you in being able to take your health to the next level with whatever way you choose to eat. And so having said that, I really applaud you for being on the call this evening to learn more about the Equivalent Plus. This is something that I am really excited to talk about, and especially as you mentioned, Gentry, the protein sources and the xanthones that are in there. I get a lot of questions about those two, and so I'm happy to be able to talk to you a little bit about it, and hopefully you'll have some information that you can take forward and share with anybody that may have questions about it themselves as you share the product. Now, it is estimated that by the time we hit the age 30, most of us lose about 1% of our lean muscle mass each year. That's quite extraordinary. 1% of our muscle mass, our lean muscle mass, is lost each year, and that is something that we really have control over, and that's the exciting thing. So many times we think that our health, as we age, our health declines, but it really doesn't need to. We have the ability to take control and take charge and actually do something about that. Now, I would venture to say that probably most of us think that we're getting enough protein each day. I know that before I did a lot of research, I thought that I was, in the meals that I was eating, that I was getting ample amounts. But I can almost guarantee that most of us are not. At least not enough of the bioavailable protein. And as we talk about things, it's so important that, especially during our discussion tonight, that we think in terms of bioavailability. We can have protein there, but if our body's not uptaking it or utilizing it, it's of no value to us. Now, our Protein is so vital to every component of our body. Our bones, our blood, our muscles, our organs, our immune system, even our nerves all contain protein. But during the course of the day, with all of the activities that we do, our cells and tissues begin to break down, and so they have to be replaced and repaired. And to do this, our body uses protein in order to do this. Now, the research shows that our bodies need about 1/2 gram of protein per pound of lean muscle mass. And that's kind of a long way of saying that for every pound of our lean muscle mass, our connective tissue and all of that, we need 1/2 gram. So let's say a person weighed 100 pounds and they were 30% fat. So if we take the fat away, that would be 30 pounds of fat. That would mean that they were 70 pounds or roughly 70 pounds of lean muscle mass. So for them, they would need 35 grams of protein in order just to sustain those ratios for that particular situation. So we can see that protein is necessary, and most of us probably are not getting that. As a rule of thumb, I tell my patients to shoot for at least 60 grams of protein, and in many cases that's not a lot based on our activity levels. If we're athletes or whatever, we definitely need more protein than that each day. Now, unfortunately, unlike fat and carbohydrates, our bodies don't store protein. It would be really nice if they did. It would be much better if we could store protein rather than fat. We wouldn't have to be worrying about walking around losing those excess pounds. But that's not the case. And so in order for our bodies to get that, it will go to whatever extreme it's necessary to do that, even to the point of cannibalizing or stealing from our existing muscle tissue if we are not able to supply it with the protein that it truly needs. And if it begins to eat away our muscle mass, that's where it begins to be disastrous and unhealthy for us. Because here our metabolism is set by the amount of muscle mass that we have. The less muscle we have means the slower our metabolism is. And interestingly enough, this is why women tend to lose weight slower than men. I hear so many times, oh, well, yeah, he was a man. Of course he's going to lose weight faster than we do. But the fact of the matter is, hormones aside, now, of course, we don't, as men, don't have to necessarily worry about that ourselves, but hormones aside, if we had a man and a woman who had the same amount of muscle mass, they would be able to lose weight at an equivalent rate. So it really isn't gender specific. So it's so important that we don't lose that muscle mass. And it's so important that we add a healthy amount of complete bioavailable protein to our diets. And so the question becomes, so what types of protein or protein foods or protein supplements should we take? Now, I've had many discussions with patients and others who think it becomes a question of animal versus vegetable plant proteins. But this may not necessarily be the case. You know, even though animal protein is more complete, and by more complete it means it contains all the essential amino acids, those acids which our bodies can't produce themselves. And so even though the animal proteins tend to be more complete than many of the vegetable or plant-based, it doesn't automatically mean that they are better. For example, if we were to look at beef only contains about 20% usable protein. Just 20%. That means, you know, when we're sitting there eating that steak and enjoying the hamburger, only 20% of that can really be utilized by our body. And having said that, there are actually vegan options that approach 90 to 95% usable protein. And I'll give you a hint. Some of those, if you look on the back of our panel of Equivalent Plus, that will give you a big hint as to what some of those are. So really in the world of proteins, when we look at them, the issue of animal versus vegetable or plant-based protein really takes a back seat to really what we want to talk about as usability or bioavailability, unless, of course, you are a vegan or a vegetarian. And, of course, in that case, they would be important as to which type of protein that you would use. Now, when we talk in terms of protein bioavailability, what we are really saying is the type and amount of amino acids that are present in that protein molecule. So even though the body has the ability to convert and make amino acids, And the ones that we're more primarily concerned with are the 9 essential amino acids, which can't be manufactured by the body. Even though they're able to convert, they can't do those 9. And so we have to get those 9 essential amino acids from the foods we eat. Or, wonderfully enough, at Q Sciences, we now have the Q aminos, which can actually come in now and supplement those 9 essential amino acids and make it better for us, so that as we are trying to figure out the best way to eat, we do have a level playing field there. Now, when it comes to the animal protein itself, and especially those provided by beef, poultry, fish, and pork, we can say that they are complete sources because they are animal-based protein. However, they're not necessarily nutrient-dense. And depending on where these animal-based proteins, where they're farmed, they may contain high levels of antibiotics. They may have pesticides. They may have hormones, and in some of the fish that we eat may even have an abundance amount of mercury. So there are a lot of things that we have to even take in consideration when we're looking at our protein sources. There's even been shown to be unhealthy ratios of omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids. So it's so important that we are privy to this information. Now, once again, this is not to discourage or encourage any one way of eating over the other. The whole point of this is it's so important that when we're looking at supplementing protein, because protein is so important to us, that we do so in an educated fashion. We do so in a way that we know that we're doing the right thing for our bodies to maintain that optimal health. Now, when it comes as far as to animal protein supplementation, whey is actually been proven to be king. We hear a lot about whey protein, especially as I've mentioned in conversations past, this is true about New Zealand whey. One of the reasons for this is in New Zealand, their cows are not given antibiotics. They don't use certain pesticides. They have certain rules and regulations as to how long a cow is able to graze. They are grass-fed. So all of these reasons have gone into ensuring that the whey product or the whey protein that we're having is hormone-free, antibiotic-free, and all of this. We can say that they're happy cows, and happy cows give good stuff. And for the most part, that's the case. One of the other reasons that there's an argument for New Zealand whey protein is it's also high in branched-chain amino acids. And these branched-chain amino acids are quickly absorbed into the body. But now here's what's interesting, and here's what I want to drive home with you. Unfortunately, whey is highly allergenic, and it isn't necessarily the lactose or the casein within the whey protein. A lot of people have argued that because of lactose intolerance or the casein which is in the whey, that is why people are having allergic reaction to it, and that's not actually the case. Statistically, it's estimated that there's about 1 to 3% of the population that is actually allergic to dairy and whey. So that's 1 to 3%. However, here's where it gets interesting. If we define that number to include anyone who generates extra mucus from eating dairy, or suffers from constipation from eating dairy, or feels bloated after eating dairy, those numbers then approach 60 to 70%. So now we have gone from 1 to 3% up almost to 70%, almost 3/4 here. Now, let's add one more little kicker here to this. If we expand that number to include anyone who suffers from mild systemic inflammation or overall chronic inflammation, which many of us are in a state of, if we include that, now we're looking at closer to 80, 90s, almost some studies have showed that even 100%. Now that's a little bit high for me. I never like to say that. But we can see how large that number is. And this is from whey. This is a protein that's out there. It has been shown to be good. But yet, it may not necessarily be the best way, no pun intended, to actually supplement protein for ourselves. And I'm here to say that there are other avenues that we can explore. Now, having gone through the animal proteins, as with the fish, the meat, the poultry, and also the pork, and talking about whey, now I want to transition over to some of the vegetable or plant-based proteins. And the first is soy. There's a lot of protein out there and a lot of things that contain soy out there, and this is not, in my opinion, an effective alternative. As a matter of fact, it has been shown to be high in allergens. The research, the last time that I looked, there were about 28 different proteins present in soy that actually elicited allergic responses. And it also might be worth noting that the more soy one eats, the more likely he or she is to develop allergies to it. That's an interesting tidbit of information that I ran across. Another piece about soy is that soy also blocks the absorption of important minerals such as calcium. So that's there. And then we have the phytoestrogen factor. And this, to me, is a huge factor. That those who have eaten soy have been shown to be estrogen dominant. And this is very concerning to me for a couple of reasons. Men who tend to be estrogen dominant tend to their breasts begin to grow, gynecomastia. And women who are postmenopausal, who have more estrogen in their systems than they should, are more prone or have been shown to be more prone to different types of cancers. And so, again, another huge factor as to why we want to avoid soy altogether, in my opinion. Now, one last thing which is very interesting, and I actually just learned today, that soy protein contains enzyme inhibitors that block other enzymes needed for protein digestion. So the very reason that we're eating soy, right, is to increase our protein, and yet there are enzyme inhibitors within the soy that actually block the body's ability to digest it. So once again, this is not a good source, in my opinion, of where we want to go as far as looking at protein supplementation. Now, I want to go into and jump into the actual vegetable, plant-based proteins found in the Equivalent Plus. We have brown sprouted rice protein, pea protein, chia seed, and hemp seed protein. Now, interestingly enough, when combined correctly, the rice and the pea protein alone, just those two, the brown sprouted rice and the pea protein, approach 90% bioavailability. That's pretty awesome. So right now, if we were just to have those two in our Equivalent Plus, and it stated that we had 20 grams of protein, if we take 90% of that, that means 18 grams of protein of that 20 would be bioavailable. That's how much our body's getting. So that's pretty amazing on that. Now, together, those four proteins together, they are one of the most hypoallergenic, easily digested proteins, meaning there have been shown very few allergic reactions to these proteins, and especially in combination that we have on that. As a matter of fact, it's interesting that just after 4 hours, and if we were just looking, let's say at the rice protein, just in 4 hours, 86% of all of the ingested rice protein would actually be absorbed, and then pea protein is not far behind it. So again, it's quickly absorbed into the body, it's readily absorbed, and most of it is absorbed, and that's exciting. Now, and that's just the rice and the pea. So when we start talking about the chia seed, this is a powerhouse. Chia seed is remarkable. It has 19 amino acids, including all of the essential, and those 9 that we talked about that the body can't create. except taurine. It is gluten-free and high in fiber content. It contains 20% omega-3s, which in itself, for chia seed, makes it a super brain and heart food in itself. It has 8 times more omega-3 than salmon does. It has 20% protein bioavailability. Now, just in the chia seed, if we recall, the animal protein beef was 20% bioavailable. Here in this chia seed is 20%, so it's equivalent to that. It has 5 times more calcium than milk, 7 times more vitamin C than oranges, 3 times more iron than spinach, and 2 times more potassium content than a banana. Can you just say wow? And just in that protein alone, it also promotes healthy hair, skin, and nails. And last, and definitely not least, chia seed protein has a positive impact on balancing blood glucose levels. So we can see that in itself is awesome. Now, when we get to the hemp seed protein, it has some really neat and unique features. In addition to be easily digested, absorbed, and utilized by the body, it closely resembles, in molecular form, the globulin that's found in human plasma that is vital to a healthy immune system. That means that this has the shape and the figure that actually will go in, and hemp seed will actually help it bolster or boost the immune system. And in itself, it is considered itself to be a complete protein, meaning it has all the aminos, including the essentials that are necessary on that. So that's pretty remarkable. So when we take a look at the rice and the pea protein, along with the addition of the chia and the hemp, we have close to 95 to 98% bioavailability in the proteins that are used in the Equivalent Plus. And that is exciting. So once again, when we were developing this, we wanted to make sure that we had the best bioavailable protein that and be able to share it with those, whether they were non-vegan or vegan alike. And that's one of the things that's beauty about this. It can go out and can be shared with everybody. Now, on the xanthones, I guess it's the easiest way to say it. Xanthones are a plant-derived compound that's considered to be one of nature's most powerful antioxidants. So it's a part of a plant that actually has been shown to be a super powerful antioxidant. They're extracted from mangosteen fruit, which is indigenous to tropical climates, those that are say in Southeast Asia, Polynesia, South America, and South Africa. Now, what's really cool about the xanthones is in the last decade, there have been more than 1,000 scientific papers written and published on their structure and pharmacological or medicinal effects. And in these papers, there have been over 100 different effects noted, including helping to prevent and overcome the serious effects of over 30 degenerative diseases. Now, wow, that's a mouthful. That means that there are so many things that the xanthones have been shown to help and to aid in. Now, the things that are mostly important from my perspective and what I was looking at wanting to do as far as putting it into the Equivalent Plus was the fact that the antioxidant support of the xanthone helps support the health of the heart. It also has been shown to help bolster the immune system as well. So important with all of the things that we are exposed to today. A healthy immune system is so vital and critical. And then last but not least, and this is one that I am really excited about, it has been shown to decrease the inflammatory response of the body, or at least help the body overcome inflammation. And so those who I've had patients come in and they've been on the Equivalent Plus, they've already actually telling me that they're finding that they have less pain in their joints, and they're able to walk farther distances or be able to do certain things that they haven't been able to do with that. And isn't that important, especially now that we have the cell sizer, and put that in conjunction with putting people on that, we can now get people really moving and really going on and excited about life. Now, as with any type of constituent, especially a whole food, there are different grades that they're giving. There are therapeutic grades, there are food grades. The xanthones that are in the Equivalent Plus are therapeutic grade. They're fully absorbable. They enter directly into the cell, and that's what helps the cell overcome the stresses, what they call oxidative stress, or these degenerative diseases that it mentioned. Now, each Equivalent Plus shake contains 40 milligrams of full pure extracted xanthone powder. When Dr. Kimberly and I were working, he mentioned that he felt that 80 milligrams of xanthones daily was necessary to achieve the optimal benefit from them. So just in two of our Equivalent Plus shakes, we have that 80 milligrams that we can fully utilize and be able to take advantage of. It is so exciting, the things that Q Sciences are bringing about. We are seeing a whole movement for health, wellness, and we can truly see how all of our products truly pop, how they were created to purify, to optimize, and protect the body. And that is what is so exciting. That's why I'm so excited to be a part of it, and that's why I'm so passionate about sharing the information that I have to share with you. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your efforts in sharing this with others. And as Aaron would say, cue it up. Thanks, Gentry.
Thank you, Dr. Robbins. Thank you for taking your time out of your night to share more information on the xanthones and the proteins that are in the equivalent. Dr. Robbins, if you have just a second, I have just two quick questions, if you don't mind me asking those. Are you okay with that?
Absolutely.
All right. So, first of all, for me, as an example, my little girl, she's a pretty picky eater. She's about 3 years old. Would you say, at around what age would you say would this meal replacement be okay for kids? If you're on the go, or if they're struggling to eat, or they're just a picky eater?
In my humble opinion, as early as they're willing and able to take it down, I would start giving this to them. I give it to my children, especially as they're growing. Their body really is in a place that it needs to have that protein and have that protein available to them. So as early as they can take it, I would share it with them. Now, maybe not the 8 to 10 ounces of a full one, but start off with a half and share that with them.
Okay, no, that's great information. That's something I'm gonna start doing with my little girl. So, and last question for you, for those gym goers such as myself, people who go work out, they have to have that protein after, obviously, because your body wants to rebuild. Would you say, with taking the meal replacement, if you're in a rush and adding more protein to the equivalent, is that a good thing, a bad thing? Does that counteract the proteins in it?
Well, once again, it's all about what your intention is in doing something like that. If you are looking for more protein, this is a meal, and let's say this were a regular meal that you would sit down and eat at the dinner table. You would, for a gym goer, they would still supplement that meal with protein, and so in that way of thinking, this is a meal. So yes, if you want more protein, go right ahead and add to it. It's not gonna take away from the efficacy of it. Now, again, that was one of the reasons why I talked about the different types of proteins, because you would want to be aware of the types of proteins you put in, where they came from. Are they truly what they purport to be? But other than that, there would be no reason not to supplement protein with this if you wanted to. You could even, if you really wanted to do that, add another scoop, or even add another 2 scoops of this as a rather than an outside protein, and then you you're able to get more protein by doing that as well. So does that make sense? So you can actually take more of this in. The only caveat with that is because this is a meal replacement, a lot and the fiber content in there, you might get full on that, and it might fill you up. But if you're really looking to do more protein, I would quite honestly just do a little more of the equivalent than adding additional protein on the outside. That's my own personal take on that.
Okay, perfect. No, that's great information. Again, Dr. Robbins, thank you so much for taking time out of your night, and for all the listeners, thank you for taking time out of your night to hear this product call. Again, just a quick reminder: Rocky Mountain Summit coming up May 16th and 17th. Tickets right now are on sale for $99.95. Go ahead, if you haven't got your ticket, call our IBO Success team, place that ticket order, and just make sure you can get out to the Rocky Mountain Summit. Again, tomorrow night in Manti, Utah, David Hall and Tony Steffen will be having a meeting. If you have questions on that, if you're out of state and you want your team members to go, call our IBO Success. We can get that information to you. Again, a quick reminder as well, the QEC Center in Orem will be having their kickoff barbecue April 26th, and more information to come on that. So, again, everybody, thank you so much for taking time out of your night to spend the time on the call with us. And like we say here at Q Sciences, everybody cue it up.